today's episode of PJ and the Beard, we're going to compare two guitars. But before we get into that, I would like to ask you to consider subscribing to the channel, clicking on the notification bell. Your interaction with us helps us interact with great people in the industry. And both of these guitars that we're comparing came from our friends at Zzounds. Mm-hmm. Maybe you start by showing them what we got in first to start this thing, right?
So we have another video like this that was very popular with the Les Paul Special and an Epiphone Les Paul Special, mm-hmm. right? So now we have the Epiphone Greeny, right? The Kirk Hammett Greeny. Mm-hmm. I forget all the 59 Les Paul Standard. Les Paul Standard, whatever. All right. So this is the Epiphone version of it. We did a video on this. So if you want to know all the specs and the cool stuff, what we liked, and hear a bunch of sounds with it, you can run out to that video. And then we're going to compare this to...
Yeah, after that, we went back to Zzounds and said, hey, would you consider sending us the Gibson version of this? This is the, I want to say it's the middle one because there is a collector's choice that is a significant.
Yeah, but I don't think most people consider the 20 Rand one as part of right. part of the options.
Yeah, it looks a little bit more like the original Greeny, but this is the Gibson version of that. We got this in and we wanted to compare to see what they sounded like together.
So, and I think you can see just like if we hold them out, there's a big difference finish-wise right off the bat, right? Although this is kind of a glossy finish like that too. Mm-hmm. Although I don't think the way the back feels a lot like we were. I don't know. We were not supposed to get into that.
Can't help ourselves.
Listen, here's the video. Pat's gonna play you some clean tones. We did two short jams where I played a lead on this, he played a lead on that, and then we flip-flop the guitars and do the same thing in the second jam. And then I'm going to go back through the video for this guitar, the video for that guitar, pull a bunch of sound clips and put them back to back, side by side, and jam it at the very end of the video. So if you just want to hear some clean tones side to side, just want to hear some dirty tones, some Leslie tones, some whatever tones side by side, jump to the end, check that out. That should be eye-opening. Because right now, I really don't know. Mm-hmm. Do you know? I don't know which one you're going to come across thinking sounds better.
Right. It's hard to say, honestly.
It really is. So, clean tones?
Yes.
All right, so we did two jams. For both jams, I ran into the Tyler amp and I had a DLS Echo Tour on, go figure. I also used a Barber Electronics version 4 this time in both of those jams. Pat, would you use?
I used the Direct Drive B Custom version 1 shoved into a small box. And I played it through the newly quasi-unretired PV Classic 30. We had a Tremolo amp back there that we were using for a while, and we reluctantly sent it back. So that Echo Tour, Barber.
So it's pretty much the same kind of rig going on both cases. So then in the first jam that we're about to show, I was playing the Epiphone Greeny. Pat obviously had
Gibson.
And here's the jam. So now guess what we're about to do?
Ta-da! Look at us.
All right, so coming out of the jams, we thought we'd take just a moment talking about what's different, give you some final thoughts, and then we'll jump into those clips we told you about. We just looked it up. The Epiphone has Gibson Greeny Bucker pickups in it. Like from everything that we can tell, looking it up, they have the same pickups.
Right.
To me, the biggest difference then is there has to be something going on beyond that, whether it's the woods or whatever, because they do have a different sound. The biggest thing I noticed, and you can see this in the beginning of both jams. So in the jam where I'm playing at the end, the second one where I'm playing the Gibson, and I rolled the volume back, it's still dirty.
Yeah.
But it's not as dirty as it is when I roll the volume back there, which makes me wonder if it could be like
some of the supporting electronics with these pickups are different than that, and it gives you a different vibe. Right.
Maybe the taper or whatever on that, maybe that's an imported pickup, and this is, or not pickup, but like a volume pot, right? And Gibson's like normally known for, well, I shouldn't say. Like those guys, I don't like the typical Gibson volume pot. There you go. They have like a kind of the taper on it that I don't care for. So that's the biggest difference for me. There's a big difference in the paint job. I think there's a big difference in the wood and the way it looks. There's a difference in the name. What are some of the things that are jumping out at you, Pat?
I know the neck carve was supposed to be pretty similar. I really feel like this one might be a little slimmer, maybe a little slimmer. And it could be the finish we mentioned before. But I just feel like, especially in the lower frets, that's a little bit more baseball-y up here than this.
I wonder if it is the finish that makes it feel that way.
Maybe. I mean, they're both comfortable enough to play.
Because they're supposed to be carved off of the neck of the...
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that happens in imported guitars that we've noticed in other brands is that there's less of a carve in the top. This still has a nice curve to it, but if you look at the top of that one, it is really humped. There's a lot of curve to it, to the point where I noticed on there the pickup rings on the Gibson, they actually curve with the carve instead of being straight across. It's really, and I looked at the other Gibsons in the room and it was a little different. Not a major difference, but just I think that just accentuates the carve on the top. The same, intentionally matched knobs. I don't know. I think the pickups did seem to react a little bit differently to me. And like we said, it could be the other friends playing along with them.
So we offered some final thoughts, I think, in both of the other videos that we did, the individual videos on this, and for whatever they're worth. I have a final thought question. So yes or no, like there was a lot of people complaining about the price of the Epiphone when it came out. Right. So now we have held the $3,000.
Yeah, $1,600, $1,500, $3,200.
Okay, so we've got the $3,200 and the $1,600. Holding the two side by side, playing both of them, did they overprice that?
Interesting question.
Because a lot of people complaining that they did.
Right.
But now that you've played this
Right.
and held that, and know this is 32,
Right.
and that can be held for 16, is it overpriced?
Right. I think I commented that I thought it was priced pretty well when we played it, just based on what I felt then. But you answer that, what you think. Maybe you have.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
You or me?
Well, I don't think it's overpriced. And I think it's interesting because, this was in conjunction with the Gibson Custom Shop. They went to the open book here, which is now the new standard for Epiphone, especially in this line. They put in the real American pickups, best we can tell. The fit and finish on this was fine. You just have to, and I said in the other video, you just have to get your head wrapped around. It's a $1,500 Epiphone, but it does have some details and appointments to it.
I think so.
That may not be in your standard grandpa's Epiphone.
I think so. I mean, obviously, I think that finish is, you to jump from 16 to 32, you have to get something.
Right.
The finish in the top on that. In fact, that maple top is thick enough that it comes down below the binding here in the cutaway.
It's got a big carve.
It has a big carve on it. There's stuff there. I do think the finish feels different, but that's not a $500 guitar.
No, it is not. And we always say it will make it longer, but it's interesting. I went on the Zzounds website or app, and they list every one of these guitars individually by serial number with the picture, with the weight. So if you were interested in one of these, you could literally go pick they had 6 available. You could look at the top, close-up pictures, look at the weight, and be like, I'll take that one. So it is kind of specialized. They're not cookie cutter. They're not relics like the Greeny, like the 20K one or whatever, but there is some attention to detail and some
I feel like if you got this and played it hard, though, it would relic pretty quick.
Yeah, because it doesn't feel like it's that super thick.
Yeah, I feel like it.
Yeah.
So
let's do it.
Yeah, the last thing is after we close this out, you're going to see all those clips back to back. So with that, anything else? You good?
No, I think we're good.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for clicking the subscribe button, notification bell. Anytime you do those things to interact with the channel, that's what helps us interact with places like Zzounds to get cool stuff in, so we have it like this to share with you. We appreciate that. With that,
PJ, on behalf of the Beard, reminding you, no matter what you hear, you never have too much gear, and it's nice to have a greenie in each ear. Bye.